Greetings, guys, gals, and non binary pals. I'm Big Fella,
I'm Credo.
and welcome to
The
Pop
Pop
Talks,
Talks.
where we take a slice out of the pop culture pie. Today, we're going to be talking about video games that the two of us played while we were growing up, and it's a pretty big list, but I'll try to narrow down, and we will try to narrow down the ones that had the biggest impact on us.
Oh yeah, and we've played a lot of games actually growing up, like ranging from a lot of different genres. Like for example, I played a lot of RPGs, JRPGs, even like hack and slashers, beat 'em ups. I've been through them all.
Yeah, and in my case, I started off like pretty vanilla, like everybody else. I played Super Mario Brothers. I played Mario Kart a lot with my cousins. Mega Man. What else did I play? Oh, the Sonic games. I played a little bit of those, although I think I had more fun playing with Mario characters. But yeah, overall, like as time progressed, much like as games got like more advanced, I started playing like different genres, different games, different franchises, and it spawned my love of gaming, along with pop culture in general. And it's basically been nonstop. Like I still play video games to this day, and I will probably still play video games when I'm much older.
And I actually agree with you on some of the game choices that you have. For example, like the Mario games. Like I played a lot of those games too growing up, and I'd say my favorite Mario one was on the one on the DS. That was one of my favorites, and Super Mario Galaxy on the Wii. Now that game was just like out of this world, literally, because it was just such a step up from other games because you've never seen this kind of like mechanic be implemented before with like space exploration. Now, by space exploration, I mean the variety of worlds that you have. Like some games were doing that with like Mass Effect or even like other open world games, but I felt like this one with the appeal towards everybody really like mastered it.
Yes, and I played Super Mario Galaxy too, and that was the first game that I think I had played where you explored multiple planets. Because like with most of the games that I played, a lot of the story took place in like the same world, like the same planet per se. Like one game that I had a lot of fun playing growing up was Skylanders, and that was set in like basically the same fantasy world. And I cannot tell you how much money my parents spent buying me those little figurines that you put on the portal, and then boom, they're in the game. But yeah, like the concept of space exploration was one that I never really contemplated much as a kid. But as I played like more video games that were more based in science fiction, I started to realize that you know what, that's actually a pretty good idea because I mean, yes, there's a lot to explore on just one planet, but if you like incorporate like numerous planets, and obviously, like I think if I remember correctly, this one game, No Man's Sky, had like thousands of planets, and I would admire anyone's dedication to play that game and to say, you know what, I'm gonna search for all of them. Like I could not imagine how long that would take to do, and I probably would not have the patience or like the determination to accomplish that.
Actually, that actually reminds me of grinding in games, and
Grind.
yeah, literally the grind. And when you play something like an RPG or a JRPG, like you don't follow the main story. You kind of have to do the side missions. Well, you don't have to do them all, but like doing the side missions alone is a way to actually boost your character. Because by playing the main story, you don't get as much gold and XP. You mainly get that from side quests, or you get like the special weapons from the side quests. You have to go the extra mile to do stuff. That's what I like about these types of games because you really get invested into the world, and by getting invested, you start to like learn more about the lore and the depth and all that kind of stuff. And to be honest, that really adds to how rich the game is by playing the side missions. Because if you play the main story alone, you may not get the full picture.
Exactly. Like for instance, what Credo brought up. One game that I played when I was like a little bit older, because a lot of these games, obviously, I did not play like mature or teen rated games. And I'm like, well, damn you, time for having me born in 2001, where all the good shooters like Halo, Gears of War came like 5 years later. All those good games that were out, I didn't get the chance to experience until I was much older. But in one of the games that I played, which I still have fun with to this day, Saints Row 4, there are certain side missions that you have to complete to get the true ending of the game. And I admit, I'm not sure how I feel about this, but when I actually played those levels, they were actually really, really fun. Like, you do get to fight, like, say, you fight waves of enemies, you go through, like, an obstacle course, but it was overall a very fun experience. But when you see your work pay off, when you see a good ending or the true ending, you feel like your work really paid off in that regard.
Yeah, and to add on to that, it's not just about like the way the game ends and all. Now, the game ending is a pretty important thing because in like a lot of those Telltale games, or even like games where you have to make decisions to influence the ending. Now, the ending is pretty important. Don't get me wrong, but like the way you choose them, in my opinion, is like the most important way because suddenly you get to learn more about like the past. And in my opinion, like learning about the past really adds to the world building. And with the world building, I'd say is like the most important story feature ever. So if we look at other games, like let's say FF7. Now I used to play FF7 a lot, like the PS1 version, and the reason I really liked it was because like you get to interact with a lot of like random people and do a lot of random shit. And and what I found great about that was the fact that they were just educating me. They were just teaching me more about what was happening. So like not only just playing the side missions, but also like just doing the random stuff. Like you see some glowing glint in the corner of the screen, you just approach it and you interact with it, then you get a whole new fucking story.
Yes, and like Credo said, the ending is very important. One thing that I have noticed as I've played other games, a lot of the games I had, the ending was pretty much set in stone. You progress through the game, you fight the boss multiple times, or the boss's minions, you get to the boss himself, and you beat that boss, and then boom. Like you save the princess if there is a princess, you save the day, you're the hero, happy ending. But then as I got older and I got into games like Infamous, which is a great franchise by the way, and it deserves more attention, it really makes you think about your morality decisions because in those games like Infamous, the Telltale games, Dishonored, those games literally like have you choose: do you want to be a good guy? Do you want to save lives instead of taking them, or do you just want to be a cold-blooded murderer and kill everyone in your path like um, Allegiance Be Damned? And when you see how that ending like turns out, how your actions, I should say, cause the ending of the game, that really makes you think. Like, did you enjoy being the bad guy, or is it just like, wow, I kind of feel bad now, and it makes you want to replay the game and try a different route.
Yeah, those like morality system games kind of like started to take off recently, even with like Red Dead Redemption 2, if you remember like the honor system. Like now the thing is like that honor system also influences how the game ends. And what I like about those kind of systems is that you become a lot more conscious and a lot more like mindful of your decisions because usually when you play a game like sometimes you play a shooter you just care about shooting people like just going on a mass spree getting score streaks and you don't give a damn about like the AI or what went into it. But when you start to play these games with like the story and and the decisions that you have to take, that's where I say, you got to play more of those because that really starts to take a look into your own moral compass, and it actually sees how you implement it in the game.
Yes, and one game that I've actually played with a bunch of my friends that still leaves a profound impact on me to this day is Spec Ops: The Line. Now that is a game in a franchise that I didn't even know existed until I looked it up. And like between the last release of the game, which I don't remember what it was called, but I do remember reading the last Spec Ops game came out in 2002, and Spec Ops: The Line wasn't released until 10 years later in 2012. That game like shocked people to the extent because in that game like it starts off as a simple shooter. You're part of a three-man Delta Force team sent into a sandstorm ravaged Dubai to supposedly like kill or capture this rogue colonel who's basically become like the de facto like leader or dictator of the what remains of the people in Dubai. As you progress further in the game, you begin to wonder who's the real bad guy. Like I won't get into the specifics. I'll let those of you. I mean, it's 2024. It's been 12 years since the game came out, but I'll let you guys decide because that game, there are parts of it that still stick with me to this day. And there's one quote from it that really, really solidifies the tone of the game. To kill for your country is heroic. To kill for yourself is murder. To kill for entertainment is harmless. And I'm just like,
Yeah, that is actually really mind blowing. because in the end, like all these enemies that you end up killing, even if you kill a little baby in a game, that's just a computer code. So you just don't really think much of it. Like even in The Witcher, when you put the baby in the oven, but it turns out that the baby actually just lives. But the fact that you're able to do that really says a lot. But like then again, going into shooters, now I usually didn't play shooters for the story. I used to play shooters just purely for like the rampage effect. I like to just go on a killing spree, and I'm not a murderer or anything, but I'm just saying it was just fun doing all that crazy stuff and just getting the score streaks and like dropping an airstrike on your buddies. You know, buying the DLC a week later. You know, that was the greatest part. But I'd say what Call of Duty did best was the zombies, in my opinion. Like Call of Duty Zombies is unmatched. Like you will never see this level of like cooperative fun in a game ever. Now you can debate me on this if you want to, and I'd probably agree with you on a few games, but up there in the pyramid is Call of Duty Zombies, especially maps like Mob of the Dead, Kino der Toten, Revelations, Garod Kurovi. Like all those maps were just fire, you know? Yeah, Garod Kurovi literally fire.
Yeah, and I didn't start playing Call of Duty. Okay, technically that's a fib. I did actually play the first Modern Warfare in 2007, courtesy of my cousin. I tried to play a little bit of it with him, and he absolutely destroyed me. He did not care that I was a 6 year old trying to play a shooter, and I literally did not know what I was doing. But as I got more into it, the first game that I actually bought and played the whole way through was Black Ops 2. And I know that's probably like okay, like I would say okay, I know I'm late. But as I got into it, it was awesome. And then I had to go back after like playing the game and like hearing all these names like Alex Mason, Frank Woods, all this stuff. I'm like, who the hell are these guys? So then I got into Black Ops, which was awesome. It basically felt like you were playing like a movie set during the Cold War, which was freaking awesome. Then I played all the Modern Warfare games through and through. And since like Credo mentioned, you could shoot a baby in the game in the 2019 Modern Warfare. In this one part of the mission, Clean House, you basically are going through um, a housing complex, and there is a room where there's a baby inside, and there was literally a meme that someone did like shooting the baby multiple times, and after like the third or fourth attempt, the game literally tells you, "Are you serious?" And I'm sorry, that's dark, but I just when the way it says, "Are you serious?" that made me laugh.
I really like actually those game generated when the game actually breaks the fourth wall. Sorry, because it does happen in a lot of other games. Like in some certain games, like I can't really list the ones that I think of, but in some games actually you can get achievements which basically break the fourth wall for you. Like there's this one game, I don't know the name of it, but basically if you keep jumping around trying to see under this girl's skirt, you get an achievement like "Hey pervert."
Lollipop Chainsaw.
Yeah, that game. And even other games too, where you literally have to suck to get a certain achievement. Like some games where you have to die like 1,000 times, and then the game achievement's title basically makes fun of you. I'm like, wow, that is brutal and that is pretty cold. But then again, I really appreciate the entertainment and the humor.
I do. Like it goes to show that the developers cared about the game and wanted to have a sense of humor while doing it. Because that's the one thing I like about these games. Like when the developers put that kind of stuff in, it goes to show that they do care about their players. They care about what they think, and it just goes to show that when they love what they do, they show it. And I really admire that.
Now, I'd like to actually move into some more like hack and slash action oriented games because I mean, due to like my ADHD brain, I really like those hack and slash games. I don't know if I literally have ADHD, but I'm just saying. Um, in those types of games, it's just like pure murder, and this is what I liked about it. Like if you play Devil May Cry, and I'm a huge fan of the series. Like been playing it since day one. Had it on the PS2, and have been playing it ever since. And to be honest, I never really got very far in the game as a kid because it was just hard doing the puzzles. Like I wasn't used to playing the Resident Evil games because that's what the game was based off of, Resident Evil. And I wasn't used to playing those first, so I was like, okay, how do I do the puzzles? And then the game felt a little tanky and the controls, but I didn't mind it as a kid. Didn't really care. But the fact that I was just like going through these levels, and if I enter a door and then I exit and then I enter again, sometimes the enemies respawn, so you get to farm some red orbs. You know, that was really just like that really appealed to like my underlying psyche of just wanting to like fucking break shit. You know, it kind of reminds me of just a rage room, but at least
Rage.
yeah, but at least you're just doing it to computer code. So who the hell cares?
Yeah, and how Credo said, when it comes to puzzles and games, like I find those extremely frustrating. Like you could be playing an action game and you've mowed down like countless bad guys, and then you get to this part like you have to match up these tiles. Like they've done that in the Uncharted games, which I have played all of. Love them all, by the way. And Nolan North's performance as Nathan Drake is one of my favorite video game performances of all time. But some of the puzzles in those games are so frustrating. And the worst part is, like, a lot of these kids back in the day who played, like, these challenging puzzle games, like, I don't know the specifics of it, but there was a puzzle in Resident Evil 3, the original, where you had to, like, do a water pressure test, and apparently that was super frustrating. Back in the day, those kids had to figure it out for themselves. There was no, like, no one to look to online. Like, the internet was in its infancy in the late 90s, and you couldn't like look up how do you solve this test in the game, how do you get past this part, how do you beat this boss. Literally, like, trial and error was the strategy for these guys.
Yeah, I'm actually going back to Resident Evil. Like when I played RE2, I really hated the fact that, and even playing the remake, sorry, is the way you have to go find something and then bring it back. Now, that really pisses me off because now I do say it's a good mechanic in some aspects because at least you're going out exploring. But the problem is that when you run into the zombies, you know, you seem to forget about getting the thing and more focused on just trying to kill these zombies because all you have is like 6 pieces of ammo, and you got like 3 zombies. So like, okay, how am I gonna line this shot up right, or how should I knife this guy? And then like all your brain power is gone, and then when you go to look, you probably run back to the old door, and you're like, oh shit, I forgot to go grab the thing. Yeah, that part would really piss me off. Or even like having the enemies follow you, like Nemesis in RE3.
Stars.
Yeah, dude. Like Nemesis was just pure like it was just pure like brain stress. Like I couldn't get past Nemesis.
Pure nightmare fuel, even now.
Yeah, and like trying to like do your own missions, like trying to do stuff, and you just see like Nemesis lurking behind you. You're like, oh wait, is that a save room? And then you go to the save room, and then like
And he just
like,
strolls right in.
yep.
That's the one thing. Okay, I understand. Like sometimes, like these games got to keep you on your toes. But I did like that about like some of the original RE games. You go into a safe room, you're safe. No zombies can get in. You can basically just sit back, have a beer, have a burger, whatever. But in RE3 remake, that's out the window. Like you literally have to be on your toes all the time. So a safe room is no longer a safe room. It's just a room.
Oh yeah, dude. That's like the craziest part about the whole thing. But then when you transition and you play and you play like RE4, like even though RE4 is pretty annoying with the tank controls, like the fact that if you want to shoot the enemies, you have to like stand still, grab the gun, and then like aim and then aim with the laser.
Yeah, that was I played the original with my cousin like long before the remake came out. I did find that a little annoying because like I'm used to like the type of games where like you just aim down and you can still move, but of course with Resident Evil you're basically just a statue going, and I'm like, I don't like this. Like I'm not good with aiming the laser. What is this, like a laser pointer game? You're playing it with a cat?
Pretty much. And then, but that kind of like made me like the game a little more because it helped me like sort of get over my like my fucking rage induced like energy that I just want to go through and actually think about playing the game more strategically. You know, I like playing games strategically these days because I do like putting in the effort and the mental brain power because it's just, you know, like when you put in that effort for the strategy and you see a good result come out, you're like, damn, I'm really a fucking genius. So yeah, that's just me personally, what I like about it.
Yeah, and when Creo just said strategy, one game that I got into that I actually had a lot of fun with, despite taking some time to learn, was Rainbow Six Vegas. Vegas 2, I think. I could be wrong. Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six. Long story short, I played it like a typical like first-person shooter. I tried to go into rooms guns blazing, and every time I tried that strategy, bad guys would light me up, and I'd be dead. And I'm like, what am I doing wrong? But then I realized Tom Clancy, like the people that developed the games based on Tom Clancy's books, did not play these games like they were not meant to be played like typical third person or first person shooters. You had to plan your strategy, you had to make sure you took out the bad guys in a conductive and frick, what's the word? Basically like a way that would lead to proper results, a good result. So yeah, I had to learn that the hard way a little bit in this game, but overall, like I progressed really good. I was able to learn the strategy of like telling my teammate to take out this guy or I need ammo, that type of stuff. And I actually finished the game, which I was surprised with, although I'm pretty sure if you would count the first level, I must have died like probably over 20 times in just the first level.
Yeah, dude. Those games can just really be nightmare fuel and just. But after just playing these days, like me personally, I'd say going for like a really classic RPG, not like modern RPGs, because modern RPGs just overdo it a little too much. And I'm like, can we just go back to classic RPG? Kind of like how people are like, oh, can we just go back to classic Sonic instead of just always getting 3D Sonic? But with classic RPGs, at least you just know what you're doing. Like the leveling up system is very simple, and it just doesn't require like 10 skill trees. Like you branch out the skill trees, but at least the skills make sense. Like in Champions of Norath, like yeah, that game had like 10 skill trees, like it did, but at the same time, it all made something. It followed a linear fashion, so you didn't get lost. Like what you tried to upgrade, at least you were able to earn points in a very adequate manner. Because in other games, you just have to grind and grind and grind and grind just to get a few points. You upgrade those points, and then the next skill point costs like 10 points, so you have to grind even more. And I'm like, dude, I don't have the time for this. Like, yeah, I love playing the game, but at the same time, like, I already did what I had to do. I just don't want to go the extra mile unless it's really worth it. So, yeah.
Yeah, like in the essence of skill trees, like I've played games where like you start off like you have the basic toolkit for lack of a better word. Like one series that I think played this really well was the Batman Arkham series because like in the first Batman game, yeah, it's Batman Arkham Asylum. You have the basics, you have some of Batman's like his gadgets, and you get more as the game progresses. And as like you fight more bad guys and you earn more skill points, you can upgrade Batman to to be a better detective, to be a better predator, like hunting guys behind the shadows or like fighting guys like face to face. And by the end of the game, like if you really put the work in, you could literally be the Dark Knight, and that's especially emphasized in the later games, especially Arkham Knight, which I will defend that game. I do not care if you have to use the Batmobile a lot. I thought the Batmobile parts were awesome. The skill trees, like in that game, like you could like literally you could like throw a battering at a bad guy and it's an instant kill or an instant knockout because Batman doesn't kill people. But yeah, like if you put the work into the character, you can make your character a jack of all trades, or you can focus on one aspect, make it a one-trick pony, and that's nothing wrong with that. Whatever floats your boat, go for it.
Yeah, I'd noticed that even in Yakuza, like the Yakuza series, so better known as like a Dragon, because you do have the spin-offs. But at least with the Like a Dragon series, well, you do have a small map. That's the thing. People like to say it's Japanese GTA. It's not at all. You don't hijack cars. You don't randomly run over pedestrians, kill civilians. And but in this game, at least, like the way you go through with your character and the way the side missions are built, like it's purely just GRPG fun. And what I like about that is the fact that you're just able to explore the story, you're able to explore the lore, you're able to explore the city, and in the end, like you have like in some games you have like different styles. Well, I think in all games you have different styles to fight in. If you max your character out, dude, you are literally like not just what the equivalent of a Dark Knight would be, but you are literally invincible. Like in the Yakuza Zero, if you get the Dragon style, yeah, that was just basically pure knockouts. If you learn the Dragon style with the Tiger Drop, you could easily just go in for 2-hit combos or 1-hit combos, and it's over. Like you fight a bunch of enemies on the street, it's over. So that's something I really liked.
Yeah, and to go back on skill trees, there's one game that I think did a pretty unique take on the skill tree concept. It was a game called Sifu, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not sure if I'm saying it right, but long story short, it's like a beat 'em up almost, like basically like Batman Arkham combat. You're fighting bad guys, and like there's like a part of the skill tree like you have to upgrade your character. But if I remember correctly, depending on like how many upgrades you do, you age up your character. Like say you could play a character as like a young kid, but if you do like all these upgrades, apparently like you could literally age your character up to be an old man. And if you die, I think you got to restart all over again, which I'm not into permadeath personally. I mean, I know that was par for the course like back in the 80s with arcade games and such, but nowadays I'm not into that. And I'm not sure I'd last long playing that game like if I had to like build my way up from zero and find like which upgrades suit my play style or suit my character and see how it goes from there.
Yeah, my only criticism of permadeath, and especially in games these days, is that they think that people really have the time to like deal with all this stuff and go through with it. I mean, of course, I love playing video games. I wish I could do it all day, but at the same time, people have day-to-day jobs, they have tasks, they have chores. Like going through permadeath, like having to repeat the game all over again, it really just kills the incentive unless you're like really hardcore. Because even when I want to dive into Souls games, I never have the energy to do Souls games because not only because they're hard, but because like the whole bonfire system and all that. You die, you have to like go all the way after the bonfire. Yeah, that part was just like, okay, I get it, it's a checkpoint, but at the same time, it's like the boss is already hard enough. Like, why do you got to do this to me?
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like my cousin, my friends play Dark Souls. They've tried to get me into it. I can't get into it. I mean, I do find some aspects of Dark Souls entertaining, or any of the Souls games, but the level of difficulty, like I can't thoroughly enjoy it. Like that game is just like stress for me. Like I cannot go through like an entire Souls game because I'm pretty sure I wouldn't make it past the first boss. Like even I tried to play Elden Ring with my cousin. I fought this mini boss who kept kicking my ass, and like this game, like I wonder when I look at ID Software, I'm pretty sure that's the developer. Is it?
For Dark Souls?
Yes.
It's
Bethesda.
No, not Bethesda. It's a Japanese studio, From Software.
Okay, I was close. It was something software. But I do not understand why From Software made this game. Did they make it to hurt people? It's almost like, in my opinion, like based on my experience, it's almost as bad as Getting Over It with Bennett Foddy. That is a game that's rage-inducing.
Oh yeah, dude, I don't have the energy honestly to talk about like more rage-inducing games because the more I think about it, the more it starts to make me hate games. Like, I'm gonna be honest with you, but at the same time, nothing will ever make me hate games fully. So it's just a temporary feeling, but then again, I just don't like feeling that feeling. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. And like if people make fun of, like, the one thing I don't like is that like people make fun of other gamers. I'm like, haha, you're playing on the rookie difficulty, and that's okay. Like for those of you who want to play like veteran or ultra nightmare, I don't care what you play. But games were meant to be enjoyable, not stressful. And if playing like the easy difficulty is like what makes it enjoyable, let people do it. That's the whole point of playing a game, is to have fun, not to get a stress attack or whatever.
Yeah, it's even like putting gamers with disabilities into account too, because if you basically force gamers with disabilities to play like certain levels on a game too, that'll just be like an insult in my opinion, because you're just basically like trying to force them to do something they don't want to do.
Yeah. Yeah, but like I said, a lot of the games that I played, like for instance, Rabbids Go Home, which remains one of my favorite childhood games. There were certain aspects of that game that I did find stressful. Like I had to race alongside this chick in a scooter to get to the office of her boss in time. I won't explain how, because that game is a little weird to explain for people that don't know anything about Rabbids. Or like you had to collect a certain amount of junk to take back to your home or whatever. Certain aspects of that game did like cause my heart to speed up, but I had fun playing the game. And the thing is, like with Rabbids, there is no difficulty setting. Like it's just how it is, and I had fun with it. I mean, yeah, like I said, certain parts I found stressful, but most of the time I had a blast.
No, Rabbids is just a brain rot game, to be honest. It's a fun game, but it was just purely brain rot because all the shit was just like what I felt it tried to appeal to was like a bunch of little kids. But then when you play the game, you look at it face value and you're like, okay, this is for kids. But then when you actually play it, like, hey, this is actually kind of fun. But then again, the whole plot is still pretty brain rot, I will say that.
Yeah, like you're that one guy in the meme, like he looks at the game and like, hey, that's pretty good. And that's my feeling towards the Rabbids games. But personally, my all-time favorite is Rabbids Go Home, because to put it plainly, your whole objective is to collect all the stuff you can get, like when you do the bah against people. You literally knock all their clothes off and you put it in a shopping cart and you deliver it to your buddies at home, and that's the whole point of the game, and it's fun. I haven't played that game in many years, but I hope to hook up my Wii again so me and Credo can play it again, because you played that one, didn't you?
Oh yeah, I did.
Yeah, I want us to play that game together because that game is fun. I mean, yes, is it brain rot? Yes. But it's the fun kind of brain rot. The kind where you have fun, like you're watching a bad movie and like, this isn't actually that bad. But like you can still see the faults in it.
Oh yeah, speaking of bad movies, stay tuned for one of our future episodes. We'll definitely be going over some really bad movies, and we'll have a special guest with us too, who's an expert on this stuff.
Oh yes. Yeah, that will be a episode to come out on a later date. So that concludes our episode for today. If you like what you see, please leave a comment, a like, subscribe if you want to, and if you have any topics for us to cover in the future, please email us at jolioentertainment@gmail.com, because there's a lot of stuff that we can cover, and we'd love to hear what you think. Once again, I'm Big Fella,
And I'm Credo.
and we'll see you next time. Peace.
Peace.